And in this second beast that we're talking about, this second beast, which is called the false prophet, engineers what has been tossed around for many, many decades in terms of the end-time prophecies, and that is called the mark of the beast. And it's the second beast that creates this mark and places it on people's hands or foreheads. And it says clearly in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, that nobody will be able to buy or sell save he that has the mark of the beast. Now keep in mind that the mark of the beast is the mark of the first beast, the system. Now a lot of people try to reduce it to, it being the Antichrist. But really it's talking about a mark that would be imposed upon people that would be different than anything we've ever seen in history, and it would represent a way to consolidate and inventory the human race on a global scale, and it would also serve as a medium of exchange. So we wouldn't have store of value in a metal anymore or in a currency. The store of value would be understood as the labor potential of that individual. The same thing that Pharaoh tried to pull off during his time and did to a degree. What David was trying to concoct in his numbering of Israel. What Herod was trying to achieve in the census. What Hitler was trying to accomplish. And throughout time we've seen this same inference to the mark of the beast manifest in these different times and places. But it will come to a conclusion at a certain point in time, which I think we're approaching as we see now this great debacle in this problem with worldwide banking, violent swings in the economy around the world, the disparity in the currencies, and all of these currencies are going to fail. And when they do, we can look for the mark of the beast to be imposed upon people, which will be the mark of the system, and it will be brought in through this second beast called the false prophet. Now, what do we think might be a clue to what this mark would look like, or where would it come from? Because it's not just going to appear without some rolling in of it. Now, going back to the Bletchley Park phenomena, where the scientists of the Allies were able to build a computer system to break down the Enigma code of Hitler, from that point now, technology had advanced to the 1950s, and there came a design that was developed that could inventory supermarket products, and it was called the Universal Product Code. And it was a very good, and still is used to this day, 50 years later, to chart the inventory of a supermarket very effectively. Now, what is going to happen is that technology will be utilized to inventory the human race. There will be a derivative from that mark that will be placed upon the hand or forehead to inventory the whole world's population. That will be the mark of the beast, or the mark of the system. Now, one small point to make about that is that in the 1960s, Hal Lindsey wrote a book called The Late Great Planet Earth, where he thought that the 10 horns on that first beast would be the 10-nation common market. But since that time, that hasn't happened, and the common market, as we mentioned before, has grown way beyond 10. So he missed it on that. But there will come 10 horns to that first beast, and those 10 horns will be related to the mark of the beast, and they will be 10 economic regions where everybody will have a connection to. So the Club of Rome set up those 10 horns, which we haven't seen really manifest in its totality yet, because they won't manifest until the mark of the beast is in place. But they're all over the world. There's 10 of them, and everybody will be assigned to one of those economic zones, and their number will be specifically designed to correspond to those zones. This mark of the beast will be the line drawn in the sand that has to do with the witnesses in heaven. People that cross over that line and take that mark will be excluded from the heavenly calling to stand in judgment over Lucifer with regards to the appeal that he's made there. That won't be determined until that court convenes. That's still out. And what will determine the finality of an individual's eligibility to stand as a witness against Lucifer will be based upon whether they take that mark or not. Remember, nobody will be able to buy or sell save he that has the mark of the beast. So it's a terrible end and conclusion to many people's existence, because those that take the mark will be excluded from the heavenly courts. Now, there's another code that we want to talk about. Now, by the way, all of these codes are explained in detail. If you want to know more about the beast and the false prophet, I wrote a book on it. I have films on it. You can check it out on our website. Now, I want to talk about Another code that is a prominent code in the book of Revelation, especially in the 17th and 18th chapter. It's called Mystery Babylon, Mother of Harlots, and the Abominations of the Earth. This is another code that was created by Lucifer for the purposes of deceiving the world. Now, Lucifer knows that in the hearts of humans, it says clearly that eternity is sealed up in the hearts of humans. It's in our hearts to think about the hereafter. In order for us to be distracted from our focus in how to pursue the understanding of eternity, Satan has created a code that kind of bends that hope and that belief into his answer. And his answer is a false world religious system that incorporates many of the religions, all of the religions of the world. It gives a little measure of light, but not in the sense of the true light. And not only is Mystery Babylon a religious code, it's also a commercial code. So when we look at the first beast of Revelation 13, and we see it as a worldwide political system, and the false prophet cooperating with that system to bring it to conclusion, the Mystery Babylon code deals more with religion and commerce. So almost a good metaphor or analogy of that is what's happening in the United States system, where we see now the government trying to take control of commerce. It's a very similar thing, and we know that in the end, the commercial system is destroyed by the political system, because it says the beast will hate the whore or the harlot, and he will throw her down and stomp her to death. So eventually, the political system will overshadow and overthrow the world's commercial system. So Mystery Babylon will be no more. And we've noticed just here in the last couple of months, this is 2008, the fall of the year, if you're listening to this in the future, a little window of what we can expect in the future, the overthrow of Mystery Babylon by the beast. And the final setup, when you look back at the Egyptians and the building of the pyramids, the lording over of the people by Pharaoh, the time when David numbered Israel, the census in Rome, Hitler's tattooing the Jews in the labor camps. And as you look out throughout time and you see the people that have emerged, the Alexander the Greats, the Charlemagnes, the Charles Martels, the Napoleons, Hitler, all of these people wanted to be ruler of the world. That's what their motive was. But it was impossible for that to happen until technology developed to such a degree that the whole world could come under an inventory system, a control system. And now, as the UPC code is developed now with a new spin on it called radio frequency identification, and people can be tracked by sound that's emitted from a code, and now the technology's in place and developed to the degree where the potential for the finalization of this system is at hand. It's right before us. All it's going to take now is a destruction of the world economic system, and then the phasing in of the new system based upon a mark, where everybody will have a number. They'll be dehumanized with a number, and they won't be able to live out their lives with shelter and food and clothing unless they take the mark, because it says nobody will be able to buy or sell save he that has the mark of the beast. And when you reduce humanity down to its basic instincts, survival instincts, I guess you can take sexuality as one of the basic drives of human beings, but food and shelter is what we all have to have. You know, they talk about the American dream, having your own house. So the American dream is no different than anybody having a way to have a shelter over their head and food and drink